You are holding something that has never existed before. Not in this form, not under control, not in human hands. It is small, fragile, a handful of glowing sticks and dry grass cupped against the wind. The heat is already starting to bite the soft skin of your palms. Smoke is stinging your eyes. Your heart is doing something strange in your chest, something between terror and a feeling you do not yet have a word for. Around you, the night is absolute. This is not the soft darkness of a modern city with its orange streetlights and glowing screens. This is the real thing, the original night, the kind of dark that has owned the world for hundreds of millions of years. You cannot see your own hand if you hold it 6 inches from your face. You cannot see the faces of the people sitting 3 body lengths away from you. You can only hear them breathing. You can only smell the damp earth and the distant animals and the sharp, new chemical smell of the thing you are holding.
And the thing you are holding is fire. Not a wildfire, not a lightning strike that happened to land in the right place and then died. Controlled fire. Kept alive, fed, protected. Yours. You are the first human being in the history of the planet to do this at night. And the question nobody ever really asks is not, how did we invent fire? The question is what it actually felt like. In the body, in the nervous system, in the exact second the darkness stopped being absolute. Let's go back to that second. Before this moment, night was not a time of rest. Night was a time of exposure. Almost every major predator that shared the landscape with early humans was either nocturnal or crepuscular. They owned the hours after sunset. Lions, hyenas, leopards, saber-toothed cats, things with better night vision than you, better smell than you, and no reason to be polite about it. Your species had spent hundreds of thousands of years treating darkness the way a modern person treats a locked room with something moving inside it. You did not explore it. You endured it. You found the best defensive position you could, pressed your back against rock or each other, and waited for the light to return. Your sleep was light. Your body never fully trusted the dark. Every snapped branch, every shift in the wind, every unfamiliar smell kept a part of your brain awake and scanning. That was not anxiety in the modern sense. That was the baseline cost of being a soft, relatively slow diurnal primate trying to survive in a world that preferred the night shift. And then, someone figured out how to keep a flame alive after the sun went down. We do not know the exact individual. We do not know the exact year. The archaeological evidence puts reliable control of fire somewhere around 400,000 years ago, give or take, though some sites push the possibility earlier. The precise identity does not matter. What matters is the sensation. Imagine the first successful transfer. You have been carrying a glowing ember from a lightning-struck tree or a grass fire for hours, protecting it the way you would protect a newborn. You have fed it tiny pieces of dry tinder. You have blown on it carefully, learning the difference between the breath that feeds and the breath that kills. And then, at some point after the last light has left the sky, the ember becomes a flame. A real, upright, living flame that throws light in a circle. The first thing that changes is not temperature. It is space. Suddenly, there is a boundary, a visible edge between the known and the unknown. Inside the circle of light, you can see the faces of the people you travel with. You can see their eyes. You can see the ground. You can see your own hands. Outside the circle, the dark is still absolute, but it is no longer total. It has been pushed back. It has been given a limit. That limit is the first thing that feels different in the body. Your shoulders drop a fraction. Your breathing slows without you deciding to slow it. The constant low-level scan of the darkness does not disappear, but it changes quality. The night is still dangerous, but it is no longer featureless. There is now a place where the danger cannot easily reach without announcing itself first. The second thing that changes is sound. Fire is not silent. It cracks. It hisses when damp wood is added. It pops. Those small, irregular noises become a new kind of background. They are not the sounds of something large moving through brush. They are the sounds of something you control. Over the first hours of that first night, your brain begins to file the fire sounds under safe, the same way it once filed the breathing of the group under safe. A new category has been created in real time.
Then comes the heat. Early humans were not living in tropical comfort every night. Many of the populations that first mastered fire lived in climates that could kill an unprotected person in a matter of hours after dark. The sudden presence of a sustained heat source is not a luxury. It is a physiological event. Muscles that have been tensed against cold begin to release. Blood flow changes. The body's own energy budget, which has been spending a significant percentage of its calories just to stay warm, suddenly has a surplus. That surplus is felt as a kind of quiet relief that settles into the bones.
But the most important change is not physical. It is the shift in what the group can do with the hours after sunset. Before controlled fire, the night was largely empty of culture. You could not work. You could not easily move. You could not see the faces of the people you depended on. Conversation, when it happened, was limited and practical. The darkness itself was the dominant presence. Once there is a reliable circle of light and heat, something new becomes possible. People stay awake longer, not because they have to, but because they can. The natural biphasic sleep pattern of early humans, first sleep and second sleep with a quiet waking period in between, now has a place to happen that is not pure vulnerability. The waking hours between sleeps become social. People look at each other. They talk. They tell the first long, elaborate stories that are not about tomorrow's food or the location of water. They begin to narrate the world to one another while the dark presses in from every side. That is not a small change. That is the beginning of culture as we still practice it. Researchers studying modern hunter-gatherer groups have found that daytime conversation is mostly logistics. Who is hunting where? What needs to be gathered? Coordination. Nighttime conversation around the fire is almost entirely different. Roughly 80% of it is storytelling. Myths, accounts of ancestors, moral tales, speculations about the sky. The fire did not invent language, but it created the first reliable theater for language to do the deeper work of turning a group of individuals into a people with a shared past and a shared imagination. You are sitting in that first circle. The story has not been invented yet, but the conditions for it have. The light is on the faces. The heat is in the bodies. The dark is outside the boundary. And for the first time, the night is not only something to survive, it is something that can be filled. There is another layer that almost never gets talked about. Fire changes the predator calculation in real time. Most large carnivores do not like open flame. The avoidance is ancient and largely innate. Animals that approached wildfires too closely did not leave offspring. The ones that treated the smell of smoke and the sight of flame as a hard boundary survived. When humans began keeping fire at night, they were not just warming themselves. They were broadcasting a signal that said, in a language older than any spoken word, something that controls this is here. The signal did not require the predators to understand what a human was. It only required them to treat the light and the smoke as a place to avoid. So the first nights with controlled fire were quieter at the edges. The large things that usually moved through the dark kept a greater distance. The risk did not disappear, but the math changed. And the human nervous system, which had spent hundreds of thousands of years calibrated to the old math, began to recalibrate. You can feel that recalibration in the body of the first person to keep the flame alive past sunset. The constant background readiness does not vanish, but it softens. The shoulders stay a little lower. The ears still listen, but they listen differently. The dark is still out there. It is just no longer the only thing that exists.
Now consider the fragility of the whole arrangement. The first fires were not reliable. They went out. Embers died. Wet wood refused to catch. Wind shifted and the light collapsed back into absolute dark in a matter of seconds. Every time that happened, the old night returned instantly. The boundary disappeared. The heat disappeared. The faces disappeared. And the nervous system that had begun to relax had to snap back to full alert in a single breath. That cycle of gain and loss, of temporary safety followed by sudden return to vulnerability, is part of what the first nights felt like. Relief that could be taken away at any moment. A new kind of hope that was still learning how not to break. Over time, the skill improved. People learned which woods burned longer. They learned how to bank coals and carry them. They learned how to build the fire so the wind worked with them instead of against them. The technology got better. But the original feeling, the one that belonged to the first successful night, never fully left the species. You still carry it. Every time you sit near a campfire and feel your shoulders drop, that is the old recalibration happening again. Every time the dark beyond the light starts to feel manageable instead of absolute, that is the same boundary being redrawn. Every time a group of people stay up talking longer than they planned because the fire is still going, that is the same cultural space being reopened. The first human to tame fire at night did not know any of this would follow. They did not know about storytelling or extended social bonding, or the way the entire food web would eventually shift because predators learned to treat human light as a hard edge. They only knew what their body registered in the moment. Heat on the skin, light on the faces, smoke in the throat, a circle that had never existed before. And beyond that circle, the same ancient dark that had always been there. Only now, it had a limit. That is what it felt like. Not triumph in the modern sense, not a scientific breakthrough. Something quieter and more physical. The sensation of a boundary appearing where there had only been exposure. The first time the night stopped being total. And once that boundary existed, even for a single fragile night, it could never be fully uninvented. The knowledge was in the hands and the lungs and the careful feeding of the flame. It could be taught. It could be carried. It could be improved. But the original feeling stayed locked in the body of the species. So the next time you are sitting near any kind of fire after dark, even a small one, even a controlled one with a metal grate and a bag of store-bought wood, pay attention to what your nervous system does. Notice the way the light creates a soft wall. Notice the way the heat settles into your muscles. Notice the way conversation changes when faces are visible and the dark has been pushed to the edges. That is not modern comfort. That is a 400,000-year-old inheritance still running in real time. You are not inventing the feeling. You are remembering it. The first human who held the flame through the night felt the exact same drop in the shoulders, the exact same quiet recalibration, the exact same strange new sense that the dark was still out there, but no longer absolute. They were the first. You are the continuation. And the fire is still doing the same work it did on that original night, turning a place of pure exposure into a place where people can see each other's faces, stay awake a little longer, and begin to tell the world who they are.